Good morning out there in Facebook land. You probably figured out by now that we had some problems. We start out on Zoom, and then usually Zoom connects you to Facebook, but Facebook is absolutely refusing to connect us. I don't know what, it's a problem over there at Facebook. Good morning, Natasha. Facebook gets up to about 20% of preparing to live stream the meeting, and then the little bar just gets stopped there. So after about 10 times of trying to connect us to Facebook through Zoom, I'm just gonna set my phone, good morning Divya, set my phone right here on my desktop with my notes, and we're just gonna go, Raleigh Walder wants to be in your video. Good morning Rakesh, good morning Raleigh. I'm not sure about, I don't know how to get somebody into the video or even if it's necessary. Rob's with me on Zoom. Can you hear me, Rob? Okay, he's probably gone away.
I can't hear you, Cripple.
You can or you can't? You can or you can't?
I can.
Okay, so Rob's on Zoom, but we're not connecting to Facebook through Zoom. Facebook, there's something wrong with Facebook this morning. But anyway, thank you for your patience. We're 8 minutes late coming on board. We were ready to go at the exact time, but it wasn't in the cards. It wasn't in our fate this morning. We also have to take a moment to give our condolences to the Vrindavan Krishna community. Vrindavan is the place where Krishna appeared. It's the holiest of all holy places. They lost 5 devotees to COVID yesterday. 5 apparently very, very good, wonderful devotees. And of course, yesterday the funeral rites were done for Pankaj Janri. It's really hitting hard in India. They feel that they're just starting with this surge. Haven't even begun to see the worst of it, and already within 2 days, 5 Mahatmas, 5 great devotees are already passed away. So Raleigh says this all has to do something with the iOS 14.5 update, which is managing tracking. He says that's why we couldn't go to Facebook from Zoom to Facebook. So we'll see if that problem persists next week. We always got the option of going directly from our phone and bypassing Zoom. The only problem is that, what is the problem? Well, I like the virtual backgrounds of Zoom, and I like the convenience of Zoom, and I like the fact that you can do Zoom from your desktop. But anyway, we will get to you sooner, one way or another. But let's pray for all those devotees in India, and let's also learn our own lesson. What was it, a month ago, India was cocky. India thought it had the whole pandemic beat, and now look at it. They're dropping like flies. They don't have oxygen. There's so many shortcomings there, and they feel like it's just beginning. So let us also not get cocky here in America and then have the same comeuppance. Says pride comes before a fall. If you haven't been vaccinated, go out today and get vaccinated. There's no excuse. You don't even need appointments now. You can practically walk into any pharmacy. You can even get free Lyft and Uber rides if you don't have a car. So please, for the sake of others and for your own sake, go out and get vaccinated. We do not want a resurgence. I think we can all agree on this. We do not want to take any steps back now that we're so close. Don't be one of the deadheads that because of laziness or because of any sort of recalcitrance on your part, that gives this pandemic the window of opportunity to resurge. Please don't be that person. Don't make me say, I told you so. Chanakya Pandit, a great philosopher and moralist who lived 300 years before Christ, he said 3 things have to be exterminated completely. If you don't wipe them out 100%, you're going to be very, very sorry. Each and every one of them can and will if you're negligent, if you're lazy, each and every one of these can and will resurge. It'll come roaring back into your life to ruin it. What are those three things? One is fire, right? Smokey the Bear tells you, put out your fires, douse it with water. Yeah, finally I get the message, unable to stream through Facebook. Thank you very much. Yeah, we figured that out about 10 minutes ago. Good morning, Sundari Priya. John Pandit says, three things have to be eradicated 100%. You can't do them 99% and then walk away. Because the 1% that you overlooked or neglected will come back and bite you on some part of your anatomy. The three things are fire. You cannot leave any embers in your campfire because they will rekindle and burn the whole forest down. Debt, you want to pay off all your debts. You do not be indebted to anyone, because indebtedness is slavery. You have voluntarily. In the old days, the better armed and better equipped slavers would raid African villages, and after killing and capturing at gunpoint, they would put them on ships and forcibly take them across the ocean under horrible conditions to America. Many of them perished. And that's one thing, being forced at gunpoint into slavery. But allowing yourself to be enslaved because you can't discipline your credit card spending, that's just really, that's on you. So fire completely eliminated, debt completely eliminated, and you guessed it, disease. Why does a doctor always tell you, take all the antibiotics? Don't just take one or two until you start feeling good again. Take them all. If you just take one or two, then you start feeling, oh, I'm okay, I don't have to take the rest. The fact that you haven't totally eradicated that infection means that it's going to come roaring back again. That's why every doctor will stress so strongly, take the full course of the antibiotics. So similarly, this pandemic will not be put away unless until every able-bodied American gets their vaccine. If you want to be a fence sitter or a bystander, you could very well be the window through which a variant comes and then we get a resurgence. So please, let's not lose the gains that we've made because of perversity, because of negligence, because of laziness. I've said this before, and I may say it again, as the horrors of India become more and more evident to us, pride comes before a fall. So don't be that person. Go out and get your vaccine. All right? Is that enough? Do you see where I'm coming? I'm sorry, I can't help it, because I believe it's for your own good and for the good of the community. And something else that's for the good of the community is Srimad Bhagavatam, which, although imperfectly composed, is capable of bringing about a revolution in the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Materially absorbed people who are sold out, bought and sold, just like we're bought and sold for Krishna. See our dog collar here? These are our Tulsi neck beads. These indicate that we are Krishnas, like the dog has its collar and it has the name and phone number of the owner on it. So this is our dog collar. This signals to ourselves whenever we look in the mirror, or we look at Facebook Live, or that is signals to ourselves. It reminds us that we are Krishna's dogs. We are bought and sold, like the cow staked out in your backyard. He gets to eat your grass, but then you get to take his milk too. So we get to eat Krishna's grass. Eko Bhavadam Yo Vidati. The singular, all-powerful, eternal, maintains all of us. We couldn't survive even a day were it not for the munificence of the Supreme Provider, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we get to maintain ourselves, but we should also recognize that inasmuch as we're getting all of our maintenance, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the shelter that we need, all of that is provided open-handedly by the Lord. Then you don't go out and deny him. You don't become indifferent to him. You don't ignore him. You acknowledge him. You pay your little tax in love and devotion, and in appreciation and in gratitude. In fact, these are the things that make life worth living. These are the pleasures of life, and we don't want to deny ourselves the pleasure of being grateful to our dear most friend, Lord Krishna. So therefore it is said that materially absorbed people think that matter is the source of their provision, or nature is the source of their provision. It's very difficult for them to be cured by Krishna consciousness. It's like the sick man that believes in eating chocolate. He's sick in the first place because of eating sweets and chocolate. He's overweight, and yet some or other thinks that if he continues eating chocolates and continues maintaining too much weight on his skeletal structure, that some or other he'll get sick. He'll get better. He got sick due to those same indulgences. But he thinks if I just persist, he has a certain stubbornness, which on one level you have to kind of admire. If I just persist, some or other I'll get through to the other end of this, and my body will restore to health, and then I'll have my cake and eat it too. Literally, I have my cake and eat it too. I can continue to eat sweets, chocolate, and I will have regained my health by some sort of mystical process of misdirected faith. That process by which we become cured of misdirected faith in the material energy is called yajna, means sacrifice. We have to learn how to tender whatever comes our way, whatever talents and gifts and whatever shelter we have, whatever transportation we have, whatever income we have. We need to learn to just give that back reflexively, give that back. Many churches have a system of tithing. We haven't got to that level yet, that level of faith, but many churches, such as the Mormon Church, which surrounds us here in Utah, you can't be a member in good standing unless you give 10% of your salary off the top. But actually, another way of looking at it is you give 100% to God, and then he gives you 90% back. I think that's a much more healthy, wholesome, restorative point of view. Not that I just give Krishna 10%. Krishna is entitled to 100%. Prakrite kriyamani gunai karma ahankara vimura kartahamiti. It is due to false ego that we can come to the point of thinking 90% I'm entitled to, and God is only entitled to 10%. That is the result of false ego, which thinks of oneself as the doer. It's due to the sweat of my brow that we have food on the table, that we have the table, that we have utensils, that we have the kitchen, that we have the house. It's due to me. And because of my work, God has blessed me. Because of my work, God has no other option than to recognize me as a good guy and then shower blessings on me. And so because God's forced to favor me, I will give a token 10% to him. You know, the better attitude is that everything is due to God's mercy. We have to work just in order to stay healthy. You can't lie in bed all day and stay healthy. So we have to work, and the more we work, the healthier we're going to be. And when we work, we bring out our God-given talents. We bring them out, and that makes us satisfied. It's not the paycheck, it's not the fruit of our work that satisfies us. It's not the things that we buy or earn, but it's the opportunity, it's the honor of exercising the talents, gifts, and abilities that we have. Like me, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't think it's any mystery to anybody that I like to talk. I like to communicate. Many people have said that one-on-one, in private, I'm not very outgoing. I'm not very vulnerable, and that's true. I'm not a socially oriented person. I'm not good in social circumstances. In fact, I probably have somewhat of a reputation as being a little bit abrupt and abrasive, thoughtless in some of my comments one-on-one, maybe more direct than perhaps tact would allow. So I'm not naturally an outgoing person, but when it comes to sharing experiences, telling stories that have a moral, that have an instructive point to them, communicating with people, I rise to the occasion. I remember my mother was an English teacher. She did crossword puzzles every day, a very articulate lady. And she had a massive vocabulary, and she had an ability to come up with of all the tens of thousands of words in English language, she could always pull out of the air that specific word which would describe that circumstance or that happenstance or that set of feelings or that emotion or that thought. She was like a missile, a targeted laser-guided missile that always, after a moment of search and introspection, was able to come up with the right word. So I may have inherited that ability from her to some degree. And it is a fact that at least up until the age of 74, my mind is still nimble enough to come up with most of the right words. You don't find me going ooh and ah, too often. It's happening, but not too often. So it's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to speak to a live audience, to be able to MC the many color festivals and the Festival of Indias and the Diwali festivals we have, to monitor and to be an announcer on our Krishna radio station, as well as to give Sunday feast lectures for the last 50 years in 3 different continents, and to come to you on Facebook Live. Not, unfortunately, through Zoom today for some sort of reason that we're unaware of. Raleigh thinks it's the operating system, I'm not sure. But anyway, I don't need a salary. I mean, that's totally superfluous, extraneous. Nadanam najanam nasundaram kavitam bhajagadish mama janmani janmarishari bhavatad bhaktir haituki. That devotee is right in the middle of what Krishna wants for his or her life, who's exercising their God-given talents to the fullest extent. They don't do it for money. They don't do it for followers. They don't do it to be associated with beautiful women. They don't even do it for liberation. Narayana parasarve nakutastana bibide shvarva kabargnakashu api tulyata darshanam. If the devotee's in heaven and there's no opportunity to preach, they don't feel happy. They don't feel fulfilled. On the other hand, if they're in hell, and there's lots of people to whom you need to minister the word, you need to spread the gospel, and the devotee is in heaven. The devotee is put to use. The devotee is instrumentalized, weaponized, you might say. So I like to be weaponized, you know. That's why, although I've been to India many times, I haven't been to India recently because Utah has offered the opportunity every day for weaponization. Bhai Bhavi told me, I think tomorrow we have 100 kids coming with their parents and teachers. And I just get goosebumps, you know, I get, you know, it's like, you know, your gun, you have to clean it, you have to load it, you have to check it, you have to dry fire it. But that gun has to be totally prepared for when you go into combat. And so I love to sharpen my skills and to keep my mind fresh and nimble so that then I can communicate that to other people, especially young people. Prashad is available. Prashad is with us now, and he's following with the quotes from Shiksha Astakam, Nadanam Najanam Sundaram Kavita. Did you get the last one, Prashad? Narayana Parasarve Nakutastana Bibiki Shvarga Pavaga Narakashu Api Tulyata Darshanaham. That is the heaven-hell verse. So those who are materially absorbed, who put their faith in matter, they cannot accept the cure of yajna. They cannot work without fruitive mentality, without remuneration, without a salary. They truly believe that who dies with the most toys win, against all evidence to the contrary. And sometimes sacrifice gets a bad rap. You know, we think of virgins in South American and Inca culture being sacrificed to the fire, thrown off of a cliff. It's unfortunate because Sacrifice is beautiful. Sacrifice literally means, translated, to make your life beautiful, to make your life full and nectarine, palatable, relishable. See the words coming out? Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom, and your English teaching, your crossword puzzles. How could I not do what I do? How could I not be who I am? So when you perform the things that you're going to be performing anyway, Arjuna says, I don't want to fight. Krishna says, come on, get real, Arjuna. You're a fighter. You can't not fight. Nakarmanam anaramam. Naishkamam parusha. Nacha sanyasanat. Siddhi mirati madam. You can opt off the battlefield. You can go to a quiet rural retreat, cross your legs and chant Om. But it won't be very long before you get really upset. You go to a peaceful place to do peaceful things, but you're not a peace person. You're a war person. Chanakya Pandit, seeing as how we already quoted him once, quote him again. Chanakya Pandit says, everyone, sadhusham chesateshvasya prakritam jnanamapapi prakritim yantibu nigraham kim karishati. Did you get that, Prashant? I see the Narayana Parasarveva is coming up. Sadhusham chesateshvasya prakrita. We all have a nature. We're wired in a certain way. Arjuna is a war person. He's wired for war. Chanakya Pandit said that just as the baby bird always cheep, 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 always has its little beak wide open because it's hungry and it's hankering after the mother to come back with a nice worm and shove it down its gullet. Cheep, 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 cheep. So you can imagine the intensity of feeling of that baby bird in the nest who can't fly, looks ugly, tiny, scruffy, can't do anything for itself. You know, its whole lifeline is through its mother. And if the mother doesn't arrive timely to bring in a worm, it will starve to death. So you can imagine the focus, the intensity, that baby bird, keeping its mouth open. He doesn't even close his mouth because he's afraid he might miss. Mom might come back with a worm, see his mouth closed, and give it to one of the other little, whatever they call them, birdlings in the nest. It keeps his mouth open. Doesn't even dare to close it for a second. So just as the baby bird always hankers after the mother coming and feed it with the worm, as the baby calf, as you know, the cows and the calves are separated throughout the day. Generally, the calves get a drink in the morning, and they're taken out to pasture. That's what Krishna did. He took all the calves out to pasture throughout the day. And then when they come back, they can get another drink. And in the meantime, the cow's been provide milk for humankind. The cow produces more milk than the calf can drink. If the calf were to drink all the milk that the mother cow produces, it would get sick. So it's for the calf's good and for the benefit of humankind that the calf is separated from the mother. But at the end of the day, it's been 8 to 12 hours since that little calf had a drink of its mother's milk, and it is ready. It is ready. If you ever see a calf or lambs or goats or anyone being reunited after a few hours of separation, that little baby just it looks like, oh wow, I'm glad I'm not a mother. They hit that udder with their head. They butt it, and then they grab that tit. It looks pretty painful to me. How? Yeah. But anyway, just as the calf is eager to get the milk of the mother after being denied for a number of hours, just as a little baby bird is eager to get the worm from its mother, and as the cow itself, the mother cow, needs grass in order to produce milk. And so God has created the mother cow, the mother llama, the mother goat, the mother horse in such a way that they crave and enjoy the eating of grass. Grass is available everywhere. It covers the whole surface of the earth. So mothers of all quadrupeds, they enjoy eating grass. And my experience is with our llamas and our cows, the young fresh grass after the April rains, when those tender shoots start coming up, that's the grass they most look forward to. They dream about it during the long winter days when all they get to eat is the dry hay. Oh, when will the spring rains come, and when will those tender shoots of grass come up? That's like ice cream for them. That's gourmet food. So just as the baby bird dreams of getting the worm, as the baby calf dreams of getting the milk of its mother, and as the cow dreams of getting nice, tender spring grass, so Chanukya Pandit says the warrior, the man whose aptitude and training and temperament tends him towards violence and conflict for the protection of the innocent citizens against the miscreant. So the warrior can't go very long without war. Just like the baby bird can't go without a worm, the mother can't go without grass, and the calf can't go without milk. A warrior, he's got to have conflict. If there's no real war going on, he's always training. He's got the punching bag, he's in the gym, he's out in the field practicing his archery, his sword play, he's out in the jungle. He feeds on that, he craves it, he loves it. So Krishna says to Arjuna, in case you didn't get this verse earlier, Prashant, good morning, Britta. Sadhusham chetateshvasya prakritam gyanam prakritam yantam. Krishna says to Arjuna, get real, Arjuna. You can't deny your nature. Everyone has to act according to your nature. It's not our nature, it's not our aptitude that God built within us that gets us in trouble, brings us frustration and dissatisfaction, but it's our prostituting our talents and abilities for money, our lapsing into a fruitive mentality that if I do this, then I should get this. If I do this, then I'm entitled to this. It's that expectation, it's that feeling of entitlement, and it's the mistaken idea that results are directly connected to our own efforts. That is not the case. There are many people who strive far harder than we do in America, and they get a fraction of what we do. They work hard 10, 12 hours a day, and they can't even get a little rice for their family. They can't even feed their families. Look at how hard they're working and how hard they're praying. The whole of India is down on their knees. But that's not going to bring them oxygen. That's not going to conjure oxygen out of thin air. And yet we've done nothing basically to deserve the advanced medicines and the advanced vaccines and the availabilities. And yet it's given to us, it's handed to us. And so results are not connected with effort. Ultimately, everything is in the hands of God. So the more the activities of this material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu, the more the whole atmosphere becomes spiritualized by our complete absorption in Krishna consciousness. We're not thinking, I'm a baker, I'm a warrior, I'm a candlestick maker, I'm a homemaker, I'm a techie, I'm a banker, I'm a driver, I'm a cook. We're not thinking that way if we're devotees of the Lord, if we're absorbed in sacrifice. We're thinking, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhukaranai Shravanada Sudha Chitti Kariudai. Who I am is an eternal servant of Krishna. I have the right, the honor, and the privilege of serving Krishna so that I can observe almost as a dispassionate third party the dexterity, the prowess with which Krishna has gifted me. I can observe that in action for the Lord, and I can measure how much ground I'm retaking for the kingdom. That is our barometer. That is our measuring standard. By the exercise of my talents and abilities, how much ground can I retake for the kingdom? In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prashant, it says, Anashita karmaphalam karyam karma karoti cha sannyasi cha yogisha na niragnira chakriya. Who is a true renunciate? Who is truly situated right in the middle of divine consciousness? And Krishna tells Arjuna, Anasita karmaphalam. It's not the ones who have renounced work. Sometimes after taking sannyas, especially the monists, they think they've become God. They think after having taken formal vows of renunciation, they have no more duties to do in this world. They light no fire and perform naniragnira chakriya. They light no fire nor perform any yagas. They do not give homage. They do not give recognition. They do not give back to God. They think they have become God. Cha chanyasi cha yogi sha naniragnira chakriya. That person is actually in divine consciousness, actually a renunciate, who sees Krishna everywhere and who identifies themselves as a servant of Krishna, not according to this body, but according to the living force. And whatever whatever they do to put food on the table, roof and shelter, they do it as an offering for Krishna. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Yad karosi, yad ishnasi, yad jahasi, yad tapasi, tad karushari manarpanam. Everything that they do, the energy, the goals, the fruits that they obtain, the talents that they bring to bear, everything is a sacrifice for Vishnu. So who is in divine consciousness, who works as he or she is obligated, but for the satisfaction of Vishnu, not he who falsely renounces this stuff of this material world and thinks that they have become God. No, that is false. Those are false pretenders. They're misleading society in general. One time, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, this is in the 60s, about spiritual sky incense, the business that the devotees started in Los Angeles to fund our missionary works. And in the article, the devotee brought the copy of the Wall Street Journal to Prabhupada and showed it to him. And in the article it said that spiritual sky incense had generated $1 million in the past year. And the devotee asked Prabhupada, isn't that Maya, making money, and keeping accounts and buying and selling and marketing, going out and talking to karmi store owners and arranging for the distribution and the wholesale and retail sales of material things? Prabhupada, isn't that Maya? Prabhupada said, how can anything that generates $1 million for retaking ground for the kingdom, for printing books and sponsoring festivals and building temples, how can that possibly be Maya? Just the opposite. That is the pinnacle. That is the summum bonum of renunciation. In householder life, in traditional Vedic householder life, one was obligated to work for others, to work for Krishna consciousness and for Krishna's parts and parcels. For instance, if you were a householder in traditional Vedic India, you would have grown your own food, you would have cut it up, you would have prepared it, you would have cooked a beautiful meal. But you had to do two things before you sat down to eat that meal. One is you had to offer it to Krishna with love and devotion, recognizing that Krishna is the owner, the proprietor, and has the first right of enjoyment. And then, as if your hunger isn't bad enough, as if you're not like starving to death, as people would say, you didn't go, there's no fast food, there's no fast windows, there's no drive-bys. Everything is done almost like, from our point of view, relative to us, in slow motion. You harvest the food, you bring it into the kitchen, you wash it, you cut it up, you cook it, and you can't like smell it, you can't taste it while you're cooking it. You can't go and get a little snack on the side to keep the wolves from the door. It's a whole meditation which involves discipline and self-control. So it's being cooked, and how hungry you're getting. Oh, I'm gonna die. Yeah, right. And then when it's cooked, on top of everything else, you have to continue to exercise control and self-restraint by putting it on the altar, bowing down, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna, Namo Mahabharanaya, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, 3 times, ringing the bell, then allowing an interval, at least 5-10 minutes for Krishna to eat. Then you remove the offering, and then you still can't eat. I'm dying. then that traditional household will go out into the street and shout, "Is there anyone hungry? Please come to the left, to the right. If there anyone hungry, please come." And then only after having offered to the Lord and fed any homeless, indigent person within earshot, then the family would sit down and eat the prasadam. Sarira vijjajal jatendriya tahika jive fele vishay sagari dharma jitive atilo maya suramati takijete katinam samsare. So this is renunciation. It's not artificially giving up what doesn't belong to you in the first place. It's not lighting no fire and performing one's work. In addition, the traditional Vedic householders, at the time of conception of their child, they would have a fire sacrifice, they would have a puja, they would purify the atmosphere, they would invite the Brahmins, they would read scripture, they would distribute prasadam. At the birth of the child, they would also have a big celebration, feed everybody in the neighborhood, including the cats and dogs. At the first time the child got its hair cut, there would be a similar... So the householders are always sponsoring these fire sacrifices, these yajnas, these samskaras. And if you have a village, there's every day people are getting fed. The clothes that they wear, they don't re-wear them, they pass them out, they give them to the poor people. These are the duties and the obligations of the householders, to light fire, to do their duty as they are obligated, and to work. They have to work in the world in order to provide the resources so they can have the fire sacrifice, they can have the food, they can offer the food, they can distribute the food, they can distribute the clothes, and be a blessing to everybody who lives within their neighborhood. These are the true renunciants, and not those anasrita karyafanam kayam kama chasan yogichu naniragni, not those who light no fire, do no work, who in their ego, in their ahankara, their false ego, think that they have become Narayan, they have become God. Anashaktasya Visham Rupa Goswami, the famous classic verse, even our friend William quoted that last week. I didn't know that he is so conversant with scriptures. It was a pleasant surprise. Rupa Goswami summed it all up. Anashaktasya Visham Yataram Upayundita Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yokta Bhairagya Chate. Who is the true renunciate? Who sees everything as coming from Krishna. Niragnir Nirahankara, who is free from false ego, free from the false sense of proprietorship, and uses everything in the service of Krishna. He doesn't see anything separate from Krishna. One time someone asked Prabhupada, if you're a spiritualist, why do you wear the watch? If you're a spiritualist, why do you drive in a car? If you're a spiritualist, why do you eat food? Why do you need temples? Prabhupada said, to be a spiritualist means to spiritualize everything, not to artificially remove yourself from the scene, not to be disinterested or unconcerned about the suffering of people in general, but to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty, to work for the benefit and the upliftment of others. That will, Prabhupada's own guru told him, that will do you good and that will do good to others. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagno brahmahi brahmaiva tantavyam brahma karma samadhinam. In the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, everything is spiritual, and when you make of your life a sacrifice, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sacrificing your power of speech, sacrificing, consecrating, dedicating your power of hearing, seeing the beautiful form of the Lord on the altar, smelling the incense and flowers that are offered to the Lord, tasting prasadam, touching your japa beads, playing the harmonium, playing the mridanga, offering arti, making a flower gum. When you dedicate your God, Rishikesha, Rishikena, Bhaktir, Uttama, the highest level of human activity, is to take our God-given senses, which adhere not just to the material body, but which emanate from the spiritual self within, connect those in loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, That is the highest level of spiritual activity. Paramarpana Brahma. So the performer is acting in spiritual consciousness. He recognizes that the utensils that he used, the shruk and the shrak, and the fire and the samagri, that is all energies of the Lord. So it is spiritual intrinsically and originally. The prayers that one chants are spiritual sound vibrations. The priests, the Brahmins that one engages for the purpose are representatives of the Lord. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Kara. The Panchagavya, the various byproducts of the cow, the ghee, the butter, the milk, the yogurt. The cow is very dear. The cow represents Krishna along with the Brahman. And then the ultimate result, which after all, what do we pray for? Lord, you bless me to the point that I have a beautiful wife, beautiful children, beautiful house. I'm able to sponsor clothes and food and religious ceremonies for the benefit of my neighborhood. You got me this far, Lord. So my prayer is the fruit that I want from you is that I may be able to continue to be engaged in your loving devotional service now and forever hereafter. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Our conclusion is that the true renunciate is not he who lights no fire, who performs no work, who falsely claims him or herself as non-different from Narayan, but the true renunciate is Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, who acts according to their original constitutional position as an eternal servant of the Lord, sees everything as the property of the Lord, and works his level best to engage everything in the devotional service of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, no one's more surprised than me than after having got off to an extremely rocky start, coming to you a good 8 to 10 minutes late this morning because of Facebook not allowing us to broadcast through Zoom. But we rallied our forces, we kept a cool head, and we just pulled up our phone here and put it in front of the screen. You see my buff there hanging, my face mask hanging. I didn't have time to, there's another face mask over here, so sorry for things being a little bit of disarray, but it's the best we could do. We were scheduled to come on right on the dot to the second 7:30, and Facebook just said preparing for live broadcast. 30 seconds, preparing for live broadcast, preparing, preparing, but never doing it. So we tried to think on our feet, keep our cool, and so coming to you through my iPhone from Spanish Fork, Utah. Honored and privileged, and also I have to apologize. Yesterday I didn't get to answer any of your comments. It was just one of those days. Things happen right, left, and center. I think it's today we have 100 kids coming to tour. It's either today or tomorrow. But there's nothing I like better when it's time to relax and to enjoy and to relish. I go back, I look over your notes, and I try to answer everyone appropriately. And so I've got 2 days now to catch up on it. I promise I won't leave it too much longer. And the only reason that I'm not doing it with more alacrity, is that a good word, is that there's so much service that Krishna has blessed us. There's so much sacrifice that we're given the opportunity to perform here in Spanish Fork, Utah. We're too blessed to do everything. There are not enough hours in the day, there are not enough days in the week to fully come to the end of devotional service to the Lord. So I can see Justin here. Thank you very much, Justin. You may see my thumb in a really gross way. If I can scroll through the comments. Britta, thank you. So glad the children can come to the temple. Yes. Is Alexander feeling better today? Alexander is such a good, well, I always say things like, I need you to clean up my kitchen. I hope Alexander's feeling better today. Natasha's going to come by Friday and do yagya. Yagnartat Kamanobitya Lokayam. Natasha's going to come and volunteer sometime. She's security analyst, new screen intern, so she's really good with computers. She's going to come by and help us out. Thank you, Sundari Priya. Thank you so much, Ram Kishore. Great class, Prabhu. That's nectar to our ears. Rakesh, Prashant, can't thank you enough for coming up with all those verses. Jayashree Radhe, this is something that we haven't been able to do on Facebook, is scroll through all the comments. She's referring to Prabhupada's original 1972 Bhagavad Gita. William, Hari 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 Bo. Glories to you and glories to Rupa Goswami. We can't see your image because your laptop in your way, but nice. Okay, I see that now. Yeah, the laptop's kind of sticking up. Well, yeah, we just did the best we could considering the last minute emergency. I see all those verses, but Prashant putting up there, nectar by Bobby, thank you. Thank you. All right, Barbara, Radhe Sham, appreciate you all so very, very much. Bhakti Gary, I'm going to send you those transcripts today, I promise. Jean, Anju Thapalia, appreciate that. Hare Krishna, we see on Facebook the beautiful shots of your wonderful daughter, Subhadra, who else? Getting a lot of repetition here, which is fine. Raleigh's got a theory on why we had trouble this morning. Justin, thank you so much, Justin, up there in Wisconsin, I believe it is. I don't want to miss anyone. Dibya Joshi. All right, and can we see who liked as well? Anyway, don't let the fact that I didn't respond to you yesterday keep you from commenting. Cami Ray Chaplin, that's a new one. Thank you for joining us, Cami. Not only join us, but hit a like button too. Well, can't say it too often. One time, Rudyard Kipling was, within his lifetime, he became the richest author literature to date. Most authors, painters, are worth a lot of money posthumously, but Rudyard Kipling was extremely popular during his time. And one time an upstart reporter came to him and he said, I calculated your income and I divided by all the words you've written, and I figure you made $50 a word that you've written, you put on paper in your lifetime. So he in jesting, he pulled out a $100 bill and he held it close to his chest. He said, how would you like to give me 2 of those $50 words right now in exchange for this $100 bill? And he was just joking. But Rudyard Kipling, quick as a snake, his arm lashed out. He snatched that $100 bill, put it in his pocket, and said, thank you. So following the footsteps of such a one as Rudyard Kipling. Can't say it too often, or too heartfeltedly. We'll be back with you next Monday for Motivational Monday. We have programs on the weekend. You're welcome to join as well. In the meantime, get vaccinated, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.